My name is Jana Holland, and I am a spiritual director trained in the Judeo-Christian tradition. I am also a somatic trauma therapist. And somatic awareness, just for those who are wondering what that is, it's learning the language of our body, our senses, how our body feels, and befriending our bodies. I've come to this particular pathway in life, not by accident, but my own journey has included both spiritual and somatic trauma. So I have used the words Soma, Nooma, and Soma is the word in Greek for living organism in its wholeness, our bodies. And Nooma, this is a phonetic spelling, the Greek, which is the meaning of wind, spirit, or breath. And I've come to this particular juncture in life having just learned about this beautiful part of our body called the vagus nerve in our nervous system. And I've heard the word nerve my whole life, right? So you get on my nerves, or I'm nervous. And so basically what I want to present today is just this journey I've been on to try and find a sense of well-being within my own soma, but also understanding that my soma is not just my soma, it's connected to your soma, it's connected to the natural earth, and it's connected to my creator. So if I can find a way to find some sort of tolerance within my own being, my own body, and even maybe move beyond tolerance to befriending this vessel, then maybe that can translate to the world around me in a way where you might feel safe and that you can trust yourself in my hands. So I'm not asking you to trust me, but I'm asking you to trust yourself in my hands as I try to share with you some information that I have found extremely liberating and impactful. So the way our time together is going to go, hopefully, is I am going to do some science-y teaching. I'm going to do some practices where we're actually going to begin to experiment with our somas. And of course, anything I'm teaching, you are welcome to ask a question. I'll try to answer it the best I can, understanding that I am still a baby in this whole neuroscience world. So I definitely am not coming to you as an expert. I'm coming to you as a peer who has learned something that has helped me. And I hope it will encourage you to go and do your own work to study and understand this. And the practices I lead you through, you are welcome to participate at whatever level you are comfortable. So if I'm offering a practice and it's not resonating with you, that's totally fine. You can just sit that one out. No pressure. If I was a punctuation mark, I would be a question mark. Are there any other question marks here? Yeah. For most of my life, I ruminated on the question why. I stayed in the why for a long, long time. Even this morning, I was having a somatic experience in my body, was reacting to the thought of coming to share with you all today. And it was building up. And Allison came around and she began to do some havening with me, just gently touching my hair. And my mind immediately went to, oh, it must be because of this. This is why. And I caught myself. And I'm really glad I caught myself. Because when we why with our bodies, we shut out the emotion that's trying to process out of us, and we bring it up into our heads. And we close it down. And it can't process. It gets stuck. And so I remembered, oh, it doesn't matter why. Think about how or what. Think about where this is happening. And when I began to do that, it just was allowed. I befriended whatever that feeling was and allowed it to come up and out. And it came out through tears. And it felt amazing afterwards. It was like so euphoric. My body was so happy that I allowed it to work through what it needed to. So that's what I want to hopefully share with you today is the how, right? So how does understanding our nervous system enhance our emotional and spiritual well-being? I believe we are inherently beloved because we are created by a creator who is love. So we have that essence in us. We are good. We are whole. But we also have genetic dispositions. We have genetic issues that have been ancestrally passed on to us, like in a big basket. And now we've got to figure out what we want to keep and what we don't and how it all works. We have our current circumstances and state of mind and how we engage the world around us, where we've grown up, our family system, the schools we were raised in. And in our journey toward wholeness, for me, it has to incorporate not just my own ability to engage my body towards healing, but also this thread that I sense coming up and in, tethered to this spirit of divine love. I had the vision of it when I was sleeping. I woke up in the morning and I was trying to imagine what it looks like for my nervous system to be connected to the divines. And this is kind of what it looked like. You see that line that is going from top to bottom and this convergence in the middle. And so my ability to be in harmony, I can only do so much within my own being. I'm just recycling what's in me. And I need that exterior energy to also empower me. So it's this joint reciprocal sacred reciprocity is what I call it. Okay, so I think before we get into the heady stuff, maybe we'll start with a practice. Yeah? Okay. So I'm going to stand. You are welcome to stand, but you don't have to. I find this particular practice works better if I'm standing. And so I'm going to stand. Every practice has an intention, because when we have an intention, we are mindful. We're actually engaging in a way where we're much more in tune and focused and mindful of what we're about to do. So our intention with this centering practice is to become open and present. Okay. And we're going to do what's called centering in 4 directions. I learned this from one of my teachers, Stacey K. Haynes. She's an amazing author in the whole somatics world. Okay. So we've already done a lot of really wonderful breath work. And so I would love it if you just find that breath. You can put your hand on your belly if you want, if that's helpful. If not, you just let your arms hang. And we're going to center in the first direction, and that is in length. So imagining, the ground is holding you up. And from your feet, you have the strength then to bring up through your body. You can close your eyes or keep them open. I close my eyes because I kind of get inside my body when I do that. But you're just going to imagine yourself lengthening all the way through to the top of the head. And if you are comfortable, you can imagine it going up into that divine love empowerment. And we're just going to sit in this for a minute. Centering in length. And when we center in length, we're centering in dignity. We're inherently worthy. We have value. Just lengthening the spine. Notice your breath. Just relax into that length, into that dignity. And then we're gonna center in width. And when we center in width, you're welcome to even spread your stance out a little bit. Imagining your hips opening up, widening your arms. You can bring them out as wide as you want. Remembering that breath. And when we center in width, we're centering in our interconnectedness, our connection with others. So as we center in that width, we send out that divine love that we just tapped into in our length and our dignity. And we offer that to the world around us. And then we're going to go ahead and you can bring your stance back together where it's comfortable. We're going to center in depth. We spend most of our life forward facing. We don't give much attention to our back body. So in depth, we're going to go ahead and move from the front to the middle heart space, all the way to the back body. And you might even like to put your hand on the back of your neck just to sort of activate, or the lower part of your back. Just pushing into that back body, noticing the back of your legs, the back of your arms. Oh, my shoulders are going back and resting. That's nice. And as we center in depth, we center on the support that our own frame offers us. All of the things that we've been resilient to make through, push through, to stay alive. We honor that. We center in depth and the support that our ancestors offer us, that great cloud of witnesses. Just sensing them holding up that back body. As we center in depth, we center on the support of that divine love that never fails, is good and true, and always has our best interest at heart. Remember your breath. And then we'll move to our fourth direction. And we'll come into our front body. With our dignity and our interconnection and our depth of support, we are able to move forward into the world with purpose and calling, opening ourselves up and being present. So just paying attention to the front of your face, down your neck. You can touch these areas if you like, your chest, your belly, on your legs. Taking a deep breath. And when you're ready, we'll come back to our space. As a question mark, I'm super curious. And in my curiosity, I started to realize that the experiences I was having and my emotions were intimately tied with the nervous system. And how attuning my body, these sensations could help and deepen my spiritual practices and my intimacy with God. So these are kind of some of the things that have opened up for me. And I hope as I'm offering you tools, will open up for you as well as you continue to explore. So because of mindfulness, I've had increased awareness. I'm much more aware of what I need in a situation, but also what others might need. Not that I'm guessing what they're needing, but also understanding my presence in a room and sort of working with that co-regulation. I'm going to use that word regulation a lot, and I'm not talking about rules. Emotional regulation is when we are actually in harmony with ourselves and our emotions, and the emotions that we're having match the experience that we're having. Empathy, just having a tender spirit towards others. And I don't mean empathy like an empath where I have no filter and I'm just taking in everybody's energy. I mean an empath where I'm able to hold space for others' energy and feel compassion for them. Better communication. So many of the issues that we have in the world and with safety and understanding each other is miscommunications, language. We get jumbled up with the words. Reduce stress and anxiety. Anybody struggle with that? Oh, all the time, right? But this practice of understanding our nervous system has really helped me to reduce it. Lead a closer relationship with others, a posture of gratitude, and beginning to change the way I view the world as not being against me, but actually finding the beauty and goodness and truth. Compassion. So compassion is an interesting thing. It's not something you just can have. It's actually something that comes from practice. Our presence is in our practice. And if people don't have these practices, they're not going to be compassionate, even though it seems logical that you should be compassionate of the person walking along the side of the road that is just, sitting there. But it's a practice. We have to build up that muscle. And then, of course, it for me has brought me closer to God and deepened my spiritual connection. So the autonomic nervous system is an integral part of the human body that helps to regulate our visceral organs. So the nervous system regulates our heart, our lungs, our liver, our gallbladder, our stomach, our intestines, our kidneys, and our sex organs. And when we're in a state of calm or centeredness, which we just practiced, our nervous system helps us to feel grounded and connected to the world around us. But when we're experiencing stress or fear or trauma, our nervous system can become dysregulated and lead to feelings of anxiety and disassociation and despair. So I'm going to use words like groundedness and calm or connected. I'm going to use words like harmony because I'm trying to give language to an actual sensation in our bodies. It's a sense, a felt sense of being safe within your own being. And when we're grounded from that sense of safety, we are able then to face the world around us. So I'm going to talk mostly today about the vagus nerve because this is the control center. The vagus nerve is the hub. And you can see here some of the notes I've made about what it is and how it works. It's the longest nerve. It runs from the base of the neck right here in the brain, and it travels down the neck and then connects to the digestive system. It has a unique role in information, lowering blood pressure, and balancing the hormones in the body. But when we attune to the vagus nerve, we discover that stress is reduced quicker, we feel happier, relaxed, and more ready for the next challenges in life. It plays an essential role in our feelings of safety and connection, and it also alerts us to danger, engaging the fight, flight, and freeze and fawn. If you haven't heard of fawning is where we are in a state of distress, and instead of fleeing or fighting or freezing, we begin to try to accommodate everyone. So it happened to me when I got into my bicycle accident a month ago. And this precious woman opened her door when I was riding by, and she, of course, was mortified. She was so sorry. And I remember freezing and then hearing her apologizing, and I immediately began to check on her. The interesting thing about this, though, is that these kinds of responses, they're natural. We can't beat ourselves up. I can't beat myself up for fawning or freezing. That was like exactly what my body needed to do in that moment to feel safe. So as you find yourself all of a sudden thrust into one of these states of being, don't be ashamed, because this is how our bodies are actually created. However, what can happen is through these experiences of trauma, which I will just briefly define trauma as any sense of disconnection. It comes in all different forms, but that's just a basic baseline definition. When we experience any kind of stress or trauma, some people don't even like the word trauma anymore. They prefer stress. Whatever it is, it's causing us to be disconnected from our bodies and from each other. So when that happens, it skews the way that this vagus nerve is communicating. So what we can do is we can begin to do practices that help us to engage what's called vagal toning, where we actually engage the vagus nerve and tone it like a muscle. So I'm going to just do a quick exercise with us. And I'm just going to show you a way that you can reset your vagus nerve. So when you're experiencing any kind of tension or stress, if you're getting a headache and you just can't focus, a headache is your body telling you something. It's not about why is it doing that. It's what is it trying to tell me? Do I need more water? Do I need more oxygen? Do I need rest? Do I need to be in a quiet space? Those are all good questions. Why does that matter is a good question. And that's a great way to use the word why. Why does it matter what my body's trying to tell me? Because when we can commune with our bodies and listen, we actually can move towards grounding, calm, harmony. Okay, so to reset your vagus nerve, what we're going to do is we're going to just do a practice where you're going to gently look over your right shoulder, just slowly, as far as you can go. Just slowly, as far as you can go. And then you're going to slowly rotate your head to the left side. Good. And then we'll come back to center. And then you're going to take your hands and you're going to bring them behind your head. And you're going to open your chest up. And you're going to take your eyes, and keeping your head straight ahead, you're going to take your eyes and look over to your right elbow. And you're going to keep looking, breathing, until you either yawn or take a deep breath. And just keep holding until you get that nice diaphragmatic breath or a yawn. And once you have that, you're going to move your eyes over to the left. And the same thing, holding your eyes over as far as they'll go until you get that deep breath or that yawn. And then you'll bring your eyes back forward. Drop your arms, and then you'll gently turn to the right. And you might notice you can turn a bit further, taking your eyes over, and then to the left. Great. And slowly back to center. That particular practice is just resetting. So getting it back into alignment or into regulation. So the vagus nerve is a superhighway. This is what's fascinating to me. 80% of the fibers transmitting from the body to the brain, and then the other 20% communicate from the brain to the body. So we like to think our brains are running the system, but in fact, it's our nervous system. 80% is coming from your gut of this communication. And then it comes up to your brain. And then your brain has to figure out the story, because we're meaning-making beings, and send that back down to the gut. So this is a bottom-up wisdom. It's a deep wisdom. We think of wisdom as in the mind, rational thinking. But in wisdom traditions, in the mystics and contemplative traditions, wisdom goes way beyond this. It comes through the body and includes the instinctive process that regulates the body's inner operational systems. It also includes our outward voluntary movements and rhythms. Just kind of grabbed just a few little points regarding each of these wisdom traditions and what they say about the body. We see in the Buddhist tradition, there's an emphasis on understanding the nature of suffering and the path to liberation. Taoism emphasizes the importance of letting go of control and allowing things to unfold naturally. Indigenous spirituality emphasizes the interconnection of all things and the importance of being attuned to the natural world, including one's own body. Sufism emphasizes treating the body with respect and care and developing a deeper connection within it. Likewise, Christianity emphasizes surrendering control, letting go of anxiety and stress, finding peace and rest in God, and cultivating a gentle and compassionate attitude. This wisdom is within us, and science is joining the conversation and showing that our nervous system has this wisdom. So as I mentioned before, what happens though is we can end up having experiences that can shape our way of relating to the world around us in a way where it keeps us trapped in a state of being that exasperates our bodies and our spirits and our emotions. And so I'm just going to go quickly through these states of being because I want to get to a few more practices. But in our state of being, what has been discovered is the autonomic map or ladder. And you may have heard the word polyvagal theory. This is a theory that was developed by Stephen Porges, and a woman named Deb Dana has enhanced it and made it more practical for folks to engage with. And we engage in three ways. These engagements are natural. We're not thinking our way into these. So when we are safe and connected and social and happy and regulated or grounded, we're in a state of being called ventral. These are big jargon words. But as I'm explaining this, if you have another word that comes to mind for you that helps to translate it and make it easier for you to understand, use it. So in our ventral, we are our truest self. We are the essence of who the divine created us to be. It's also known as the rest and recovery mode or the social engagement mode, because when we're in ventral, we're able to actually be engaged with each other and do community life. When you're in ventral, you're present and able to connect. You're able to make sense of facial expressions, access joy and playfulness, to be present with yourself and comfortable in your own skin and with others and feel safe and secure and generally pretty good. However, when we start to sense any kind of danger or fear or worry or anger arouses us, we move into what's called a sympathetic state of being. And this is where we move into fight or flight, and we are mobilized to respond to threats of danger, but we're less able to perceive safety cues. What happens when we're in a heightened state of sympathetic or activation is if we sustain that too long, eventually the body shuts down and we move into the dorsal vagal. And this is immobilization. It's like the collapse. And while we perceive danger as we do in sympathetic, the dorsal response is immobilization. We disassociate, are in shock, leads to deep depression and hopelessness. And if we stay in dorsal for too long, it leads to chronic illness and it leads to shutdown of our organs. So it's important to understand this for me, because understanding it and finding ways to climb back up that ladder into ventral is where the liberating information comes. And this is just another example in case the first one didn't make sense with the ladder. Like I said, these are natural, normal states. It's just a matter of how long we stay in them once we become aware of them and how we can move back into ventral. Let's see. We're going to do a story exercise. And in this story exercise, this is a reflective practice. We're going to learn to tune in and listen to each of the three stories that come out of these three states, okay? And what I'd like you to do is take a small everyday experience that doesn't affect your safety or significantly impact your life, Okay, we're not going to go into a deep traumatic memory. We're just going to work with something that is just happens in everyday life. So for instance, for me, it was finding out one of my friends wasn't going to be able to come. And we're going to look through first the two survival states, so the sympathetic and dorsal. So with the sympathetic, we're going to bring to mind that everyday experience. So I'm thinking about my friend saying she can't come. And bring to mind the story that some of that sympathetic energy might be saying. So just try to access, as you think about your everyday experience, just dip your toe in to that fight, flight energy, frustration or anger, worry, anxiety. Let's let those feelings kind of come alive in you a little bit. And from that perspective, look at that experience. And what story do you hear about the dysregulating moment you're working with? You can write that down if you want, or just hold it. So my story might be, my friend does this all the time. I don't even know why. Like I'm just so angry. Like I can't trust her. It's just not worth it anymore. So that's like my example. So we'll just release that, let that go. You can just shake it out. Okay, we're going to bring the story, some of that dorsal energy, okay? So that draining energy of disconnect and collapse. So just dip your toe in it. You don't want to get stuck in there. From that perspective, looking at your everyday experience, what is the story? So mine might be like, I don't even know why I try. Like, I'm not worthy of anybody's being my friend anyway, and just give up. Okay, shake that off. Whew. Okay. We're going to come up into ventral, the feeling of being at ease, that you can manage whatever's coming your way. You're social, you're engaged, you're safe. Bringing that ventral energy into this story. What does that story sound like? So mine might sound like, okay, I'm sad. I really am going to miss her. I'm really bummed she's not coming. I can feel all those things, but it's okay. I'm going to catch up with her later. She's going to ask me how it went. She's going to be excited for me, and it's going to be okay. So looking at the three stories, nothing changed in the situation, right? But your story changes as you look through different states. And this is where we don't shame those feelings that are coming up. We say, yep, that's what it is. Now we're going to make some sense out of it. And we can celebrate when we have a ventral story. Every time you have one, make note of it and celebrate it. You know, that brings me into co-regulation. We are constantly in a feedback loop with each other. We're always communicating and trying to determine whether or not we're safe with each other. It's our biological imperative. We are wired for connection. We wait for it. We're continually broadcasting and receiving with each other, trying to discern whether or not the other person's safe and anchored in ventral, grounded. We extend an invitation to those around us to connect with us when we are in ventral. And when we receive signals of safety, we feel that autonomic welcome. We feel safe to move into connection with each other. But we also send signals of danger out to the world. And when we're in sympathetic or dorsal, we put out a warning to the world that it's no longer a warm welcome to connect. And when we receive someone else's warning, we enter our survival response. Our gut sends up to the brain, should we also be fleeing or fighting or freezing or fawning? This is where neuroception comes into play. We can actually enhance our neuroception. This is the embodied sense of safety or unsafety, and it operates below the conscious level. It's that deep wisdom. Our neuroception is based on the world around us as well as our sense feelings in our body. It's the question, is this a safe place, a safe person, or a safe decision? And then acting according to ensure our survival. When we've been traumatized or disconnected, our neuroception of unsafety is more likely to be triggered more frequently and often without real threat or danger. But when we work to understand and befriend our nervous system, we can accurately neurocept and take cues of safety and give off cues of safety. So how do we find our way back? So safety is not a cognitive experience, it's embodied. We increase safety by befriending and listening to our nervous system. We are all dysregulated. Even right now, we are continually working through this feedback loop. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to sit in my back body. Because if I can sit in my back body, I know I have that support. And you don't have to give me anything. Make me feel safe and okay. But sometimes I come forward and I look and I'm like, does anyone care? Right? So we're always doing this dance with each other. But it's how we build flexibility and resilience that matters. The beautiful thing is that none of this is set in stone. Yeah, we've got DNA stuff that landed in our laps. We've got horrible traumatic experiences we've had in life. But we have this essence within us, this ventral, this goodness. And so none of this dysregulation is set in stone. It's continually taking shape. To gently find our way back to our body, the first step is finding our breath, which we've been really blessed to learn a lot about today. Asking anything and everything but the why question. You hear yourself saying why? Immediately let it go and just be in your body. What am I sensing? What am I feeling? How is this happening? Is it moving this way or that way? What's the sensation? Can I feel my body touching objects like the chair or the floor, the fabric of my clothes? How would I describe those sensations? Are there parts of my body I can't feel? Are there parts of my body I don't want to feel? The goal isn't to diagnose or to figure out why. It's literally just to spend time being curious and allow it to have a shape and a color and a smell. And to expel it, there's all kinds of really cool somatic ways to do that. Yeah. I'm going to try and squeeze in two practices. The first practice is called resourcing. So sometimes we have a feeling in our body that we don't want to feel. Maybe we're actually in a physical pain. So as I'm sitting here right now, I can actually feel a physical pain in my lower back. I'm just going to touch it because it's calling for my attention. If you sense something in your body that needs some attention, you can just begin to touch it. And then you're going to find a spot in your body that feels relatively good or good enough, okay? It could feel amazing, but a lot of times in somatic work, we're just looking for the place that feels good enough. In your mind's eye, recognize where that place is. So for me, it's actually in my shoulders. And you're going to find your breath. And with your breath, you're just going to begin to bring some of that goodness, some of that good enoughness over to the spot that just needs some attention, that needs to be cared for, that needs to be relieved. You might notice your posture changes. Just with your breath, allow that energy to span over to the spot that needs that extra attention. And then we'll just come back to our space. So that works for some people, it doesn't work for everybody. When I had my bicycle accident, I got into a cold shower and immediately began to try and source where the energy in my body, the pain in my body was less. And I started to breathe and pull that, the goodness up into my sternum, which was what was cracked. And it was amazing how quickly I was able to access that good energy and regulate my body enough that I was able to finish my shower and have something to eat and then lay down. So if that one worked for you, take it with you. So vagal toning is that's what we've been working on, these different practices, and we're going to do one more. So the vagus nerve is connected to your vocal cords. And anytime you have lost your voice, I mean, metaphorically, when you get tongue-tied, when you just feel so paralyzed by oppression or just so disconnected, or you've experienced some kind of trauma that you can't actually find words for it. Yeah. You've had a stroke, even a physiological stroke, this can apply to. So the quicker you can find your voice, the quicker you can engage the vagus nerve. It's connected to our vocal cords and the muscles at the back of our throat. So singing, humming, chanting, and gargling are ways to activate the muscles and stimulate your vagus nerve. So we learned how to reset it. We learned how to move energy around our body to deal with chronic pain. And now we're going to learn how to stimulate our vagus nerve. So we're going to do a little exercise where we're going to use this beautiful verse, and we're going to sing it with our breath. So with the rhythm of our breath. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to breathe in through our nose and we're releasing out our mouth. I should just make one note about breath. When we breathe in through our nose, we actually bring in the most pure oxygen. So if you find yourself mouth breathing, close your mouth and start breathing through your nose. Okay, that's just a side note. All right, so it's going to go like this. I'm going to sing the line all the way through, and I'm going to sing it all the way through twice. And then I'm going to begin to sing it, and I'm going to take off a word at the end. And I'm just going to keep taking off a word at the end until all we have is one word left. Cool? Yeah, okay. So it's going to go like this. Be still and know that I am God. So I took my breath in and then I said all of that in one breath. Okay? All right. Try it again. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. Now we'll begin to take off a word. Be still and know that I am God. 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 Be still and know. Be still. Now just be. Be. Beautiful. Thank you.